All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we are tearing down the architecture of an unbreakable mindset. We're going to explore exactly how mental toughness builds success. And it's fascinating, right? Because the path to literally any great achievement is almost always paved with totally unexpected obstacles. So let's just start by looking at the foundational reality of this journey. Look, here's a stark reality we all just have to face. Life will test you, and you will fail. Now, I know it's super easy to feel like hardship is some kind of personal punishment, especially when you are right in the thick of it. But actually, it's just the baseline of the human experience. There are going to be days when people doubt you, when you lose, when absolutely nothing goes your way. It is definitely not a question of if life will be hard, but when. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Will you be strong enough to keep going? Mental toughness isn't some rare, innate gift that lucky people are just magically born with. Not at all. It's armor, and it's armor forged through daily practice, pain, and discipline. So today, we are going to break down exactly how you construct that armor, piece by piece, so you can develop a mindset that simply refuses to break. Let's jump right into Section 1, accepting the hardship and erasing the expectation of an easy life. One of the biggest reasons we actually suffer is because we falsely expect life to be easy. When you walk around thinking things are always supposed to be smooth sailing, every single bump in the road feels like a total catastrophe. When you hit a snag, the instinctive complaining mindset immediately asks, "Why is this happening to me?" But the resilient mindset, it pivots completely. It asks, "What is this teaching me?" Finding that hidden lesson in a setback is step number 1 in how mental toughness builds success. Moving right along to Section 2, conquer your inner voice, taking control of your mind. We love to think our biggest obstacles are external, right? Other people, bad circumstances, the economy. But honestly, our true enemy is usually that quiet, destructive little voice inside our own heads telling us we just aren't good enough and we should probably just quit. Mentally tough people hear that exact same voice of self-doubt, they really do. But they actively overwrite with things like, "Keep going, one more step, I can handle it." You absolutely have to take control of your mind before it takes control of you. And that builds perfectly into Section 3, the alchemy of discomfort, doing difficult things on purpose. Let's be real, we live in a world that is completely obsessed with comfort. And hey, trust me, I love a good couch and a streaming binge as much as anyone. But growth, success, and discipline, they exist exclusively outside of that comfort zone. If you are always comfortable, you are never growing. If you really want to discover your true potential, you have to purposefully inject difficulty into your routine. Wake up early when you'd way rather sleep in. Go exercise when you feel exhausted. Make the difficult choice while everyone else is taking the easy way out. Because when you're faced with life's unfairness, complaining is just a massive drain on your crucial energy reserves. Mentally tough individuals, they don't waste time whining about how the deck is stacked against them. They look at the board, accept the reality of the situation, and immediately ask, "Okay, what's my next move?" It really all boils down to this classic axiom of human behavior. Energy flows where focus goes. If you focus on excuses, I guarantee your brain will happily manufacture 100 more for you. But if you focus on solutions, you create the forward momentum you need to carry you through the absolute hardest parts of your journey. All right, Section 4, reframing failure as your greatest teacher. Society practically programs us to avoid failure at all costs. But if you look at the architecture of any massive achievement, you are going to find a long trail of failures. We need a completely new definition here. Failure isn't proof that you're weak, it's proof that you're trying. And psychologically speaking, this reframing actually leverages neuroplasticity. By viewing setbacks as learning opportunities rather than flat-out threats, you actively rewire your brain for resilience. The only true failure is quitting forever. Literally everything else is just data preparing you for a stronger comeback. Which brings us to Section 5, building the armor through daily strength habits. So you can't just wake up on a random Tuesday and declare, "I'm mentally tough now." The mind has to be trained with the exact same rigorous consistency as a physical muscle. It requires daily habits, things like reading books that actively challenge your assumptions, exercising when you are completely exhausted, keeping those little promises you make to yourself because that is how you build deep self-trust, practicing gratitude, sitting alone in silence to actually master your thoughts, and facing at least one fear every single week. Stringing together these small, uncomfortable acts of daily discipline is what actually forges unbreakable confidence. Next up is Section 6, surviving the storm, the ultimate test. I want you to picture this. Imagine two different people walking down a path when they are suddenly caught in a brutal, totally unexpected storm. The temperature plummets, the wind pushes harder, and the rain gets incredibly heavy. The first person decides it's just too much and retreats back to comfort immediately. But the second person, the mentally tough one, they lean into that freezing wind, put their head down, and they just keep moving forward. Now, it is agonizing. It's incredibly slow. But step by step, they actually reach the other side. This right here is the raw power of relentless perseverance. When those darkest moments hit, it isn't about taking giant leaps. It is entirely about having the grit to take just one more agonizing step over and over again. And here's the kicker. The storm didn't make them weak, it made them stronger. And life's storms work the exact same way. The very adversity you are desperately trying to escape right now is actually the forge that creates your strength. It proves exactly how mental toughness builds success. Every single challenge you overcome becomes permanent proof of your own resilience. So don't ask for an easier life. Become a stronger person. The pain of the storm is always temporary, but the resilience and the mindset you build by walking through it, that's permanent. The strongest people in this world aren't the ones who never struggle. They're simply the ones who refuse to surrender. So, my final question for you today is this. Are you ready to become stronger? Remember, life doesn't magically get easier. You just get better equipped to handle it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really challenge you to stop running from your obstacles today and start using them to build your ultimate success. Catch you next time.